The emergency transmission echoed across the vast emptiness of space, carrying the desperate cries of the Vulcan people. Their world, once peaceful and bright, now faced total destruction at the hands of the Kresnar Collective. The Vulcans were known throughout the galaxy for their beautiful art and advanced medical technology, but they had never developed weapons or warships. They believed in harmony above all else. As their cities burned and their people died, they sent out one final hope, an SOS message on every frequency they could access. The message was simple: help us. We are dying. The Kresnar show no mercy. The message traveled for days, passing through countless star systems. Many species heard it. Most ignored it. Some felt pity but did nothing. A few brought the matter to the Galactic Council, where representatives debated what should be done while more Vulcans died. But in a distant arm of the galaxy, on board the United Earth Fleet vessel Thunderchild, Commander Ju Park sat straight in her command chair as the message played throughout the bridge. Her dark eyes narrowed as she listened to the translation. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice quiet but firm. The young communications officer nodded and repeated the message. The bridge crew fell silent, watching their commander. They knew that look. Park had seen such things before. "How far is Vulcan from our position?" she asked. 4 days at maximum speed, Commander, replied Navigator Minho Lee, his fingers already plotting the course. Park nodded slowly. "The Council will debate this for weeks. By then, there will be nothing left to save." "We don't have orders to intervene," said First Officer Sun Wukang. He didn't disagree with her. He simply stated the fact. Park stood up and walked to the main viewing screen, looking at the stars beyond. 15 years ago, I watched the Zell people burn while the Council debated. 3 billion souls. I was too junior to make a difference then. She turned to face her crew. "I'm not too junior now." The bridge crew exchanged glances. They all knew the story. Park had been a junior officer during humanity's first contact with a genocide. The experience had shaped her career and her reputation as an officer who acted when others hesitated. "Set course for the Vulcan system. Maximum speed," Park ordered. "Alert all ships in our battle group to prepare for combat operations." "The Council," Kang began. "I'll deal with the Council," Park said firmly. "Sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, especially when lives are at stake." Throughout the battle group, alarms sounded as 5 human warships changed course. The Thunderchild led the formation, followed by the destroyers Defiant, Valkyrie, and Sentinel, with the medical frigate Nightingale bringing up the rear. Park called a meeting of all ship captains via hologram. "I won't order you to follow me," she told them. "This action is my decision alone. If any of you wish to continue to the scheduled rendezvous point, I'll understand." Captain Yoonji Kim of the Valkyrie spoke first. "The Kresnar have never faced humans in battle. They're about to learn why Earth is classified as a death world." No ship broke formation. As the battle group traveled, Park studied everything known about both species. The Vulcans were tall, slender beings with 4 arms and iridescent skin. Their civilization was over 20,000 years old, and they were known for their philosophy of nonviolence. The Kresnar, in contrast, were a relatively young species that had expanded rapidly through conquest. They stripped planets of resources, caring nothing for indigenous life. They had 6 limbs, thick exoskeletons, and evolved in a low-gravity environment. "They target peaceful worlds deliberately," Park told her officers. "Their strategy relies on overwhelming species who can't fight back." "They've never fought humans before," said Tactical Officer Gunjin Choi with a grim smile. "We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. Our gravity is twice what they're used to. Our bodies can withstand forces that would crush them." Park nodded. "More importantly, they've never seen our weapons technology. The galactic standard is energy shields and plasma weapons. We developed in a different direction. The humans had indeed taken a unique path. While other species focused on energy manipulation, humans had perfected kinetic weapons, railguns that fired metal projectiles at incredible speeds, point defense systems that could track and destroy incoming missiles with pinpoint accuracy, and armor that could withstand massive impacts. As they approached Vulcan space, Park recorded a message to Earth Command explaining her actions. "I take full responsibility for this decision," she concluded, "but I cannot stand by while another genocide occurs. The Vulcans ask for help. Humanity will answer." On the fourth day, long-range sensors detected the carnage ahead. 3 Vulcan cities already lay in ruins. 7 massive Kreznar ships hung in orbit, their mining beams cutting deep into the planet's surface, extracting valuable minerals with no regard for the life below. "Battle stations," Park ordered, her voice calm despite the anger building inside her. "All ships deploy to attack Formation Delta. Weapons hot, but hold fire until my command." Throughout the human vessels, crews rushed to their posts. Weapon systems powered up. Point defense batteries came online. In the launch bays, pilots climbed into their fighters. "Open a channel to the Kreznar fleet," Park commanded. The communications officer worked for a moment. "Channel open, Commander." Park stood tall, her uniform crisp, her expression resolute. "This is Commander Ju Park of the United Earth Fleet. You are committing acts of genocide against a sentient species. Withdraw immediately or face consequences." For a long moment, there was silence. Then a harsh, clicking voice responded. The translator converted it to human speech. "Deathworlders, we've heard of your kind. Primitive savages playing with technology beyond your understanding. This system is now Kreznar territory. Interfere and be destroyed." On the main screen appeared a Kreznar commander, its exoskeleton gleaming with decorations, its 6 eyes fixed on Park with contempt. Park didn't flinch. She had expected this response. The Kreznar had conquered 12 systems. They had never known defeat. They had never met humans. "All ships," Park said quietly, "target the nearest Kreznar vessel. Fire at will." The Thunderchild's main railgun roared to life, accelerating a tungsten rod to a significant fraction of light speed. It crossed the space between the ships in seconds, and before the Kreznar could raise their energy shields, the projectile tore through their lead dreadnought from stem to stern. The stunned silence that followed was broken by alarms as the Kreznar fleet turned to face this unexpected threat, abandoning their attack on the planet below. The battle for Vulcan had begun. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vulcan system. The 5 warships moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls absorbing the light from Vulcan's dying sun. From the bridge of the Thunderchild, Commander Ju Park watched the main view screen with cold fury. "Status report," she ordered. Tactical Officer Hyunjin Choi's fingers flew across his console. 3 major Vulcan cities destroyed. Population centers burning. 7 Kreznar harvester ships in low orbit. They're stripping the planet's atmosphere of rare gases. Park's jaw tightened. The Kreznar hadn't just come to conquer. They had come to strip mine an inhabited world. The Vulcans were simply in the way. "Life signs?" she asked. Medical Officer Do Yun looked up from her station, her face pale. "Billions of Vulcans still alive, Commander. But their life support systems are failing as the atmosphere thins. Without intervention, planetary death occurs in 14 days. Park nodded grimly. "Then we have no time to waste. Communications, open a channel to the Kreznar fleet." "Channel open, Commander." The bridge crew fell silent as Park stood before the communications array. Her uniform was crisp, her posture straight. She looked exactly like what she was, a human warrior about to go to battle. "This is Commander Ju Park of the United Earth Fleet," she said, her voice firm and clear. "You are committing acts of genocide against a sentient species. Withdraw immediately or face consequences." For several long seconds, there was no response. Then the view screen flickered, and a Kreznar appeared. It was larger than Park had expected, with 6 jointed limbs and a hard exoskeleton that gleamed with embedded technology. Its face was a nightmare of compound eyes and clicking mandibles. "I am Supreme Commander Zorthal of the Kreznar Collective," the alien said, its voice translated into flat, emotionless human speech. "Deathworlders, we've heard of your kind. Primitive savages playing with technology beyond your understanding. This system is now Kreznar territory. Interfere and be destroyed." Park didn't flinch. She had faced alien threats before. You have 1 minute to begin withdrawal procedures, or we will open fire. The Kresnar made a sound that might have been laughter. 5 primitive ships against our fleet. Your species truly is as foolish as they say. We have conquered 12 systems. Our technology is centuries beyond yours. 50 seconds, Park replied. The Kresnar's compound eyes flashed with bioluminescent anger. You dare to threaten the collective. Our harvesting will continue. The Vulcans were warned to leave. Their failure to do so is not our concern. 40 seconds. Around the bridge, the crew prepared for battle. Weapons systems powered up. Defensive screens activated. In the launch bays below, fighter pilots climbed into their craft. You cannot possibly believe you can defeat us, the Kresnar said. Your ships will be added to our collection of trophies. Your crews will feed our young. 30 seconds. The Kresnar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. Very well. If you insist on this foolishness, we will oblige. Your deaths will serve as a warning to others who might interfere with collective business. The transmission ended abruptly. They're powering up weapons, Choi reported. Energy signatures indicate plasma cannons. Standard Galactic Council technology. Park nodded. This was what she had expected. The Kresnar, like most spacefaring species, relied on energy weapons and shields. Humanity had taken a different path. Target their lead vessel, she ordered. Main railgun, full power. Target locked, Choi confirmed. Park took her seat in the command chair. All ships, battle formation Delta. Fighters launch on my mark. She paused, looking at each member of her bridge crew. The Kresnar believe their technology makes them invincible. Let's show them what humans can do. Fire. The Thunderchild shuddered as its main railgun discharged. The weapon was simple in concept but devastating in execution. An electromagnetically accelerated tungsten rod, launched at a significant fraction of light speed. On the view screen, they watched the projectile cross the space between the ships in seconds. The Kresnar dreadnought, still in the process of raising its energy shields, had no time to react. The rod punched through its hull from stem to stern, its kinetic energy converting to heat that melted everything in its path. The bridge crew watched in silence as secondary explosions rippled along the Kresnar vessel. It broke apart, debris spinning outward in a slowly expanding cloud. For a moment, nothing happened. The Kresnar fleet seemed frozen in shock. They've never seen kinetic weapons like ours, Choi said quietly. Their shields are designed to stop energy attacks, not physical objects moving at relativistic speeds. Then the Kresnar fleet erupted into action. 6 remaining ships turned toward the human battle group, abandoning their harvesting operations. All fighters, launch, Park ordered. Target their weapon systems and engines. Destroyers, form up on the Thunderchild. Medical frigate Nightingale, fall back and prepare to receive casualties. Across the void of space, bright flashes marked the launch of Kresnar fighters, spindly, insect-like craft that moved with surprising speed. The human fighters met them halfway, their more robust designs instantly recognizable against the stars. Kresnar vessels firing, Choi warned. Brilliant beams of plasma lanced out from the alien ships, beautiful and deadly. But the human vessels were already moving, their engines pushing them into evasive patterns practiced countless times in training. Return fire, Park ordered. All weapons. The human ships responded with a barrage of their own, railgun projectiles, missile swarms, and point defense lasers. Where the Kresnar relied on raw power, the humans used precision and diversity of attack. In the fighter engagement zone, the differences became even clearer. The Kresnar pilots were good, perhaps better than the humans in terms of raw skill. But they had evolved in low-gravity environments and couldn't withstand the forces that human pilots endured as a matter of course. As the dogfight intensified, Kresnar pilots began to black out during high maneuvers that their human counterparts executed without difficulty. On the Thunderchild's bridge, Park watched the tactical display as the battle unfolded. The human ships were taking damage. Plasma impacts against their armored hulls left glowing scars, but they remained operational. The Kresnar are regrouping, Choi reported. They're forming a defensive perimeter around their harvester ships. Park nodded. They still think they can win this. Communications, open a channel to all Kreznar vessels. When the channel opened, she spoke clearly. Kreznar fleet, this is your final warning. One of your dreadnoughts is destroyed. Your fighters are being decimated. Withdraw now, or we will be forced to continue this demonstration. The response came immediately. Supreme Commander Zorthal's voice filled with rage. We will never retreat from vermin. The collective does not recognize your authority. Park shook her head. As you wish. All ships target their flagship. Full barrage. The human fleet responded as one, every weapon focusing on the Kreznar command vessel. Under such concentrated fire, even their advanced shields couldn't hold. The flagship's hull buckled, atmosphere venting into space as explosions rippled along its length. As the flagship burned, something changed in the Kreznar fleet's behavior. Their formation became ragged, their responses slower. They're centrally controlled, Choi realized. With their flagship damaged, their command structure is breaking down. Park leaned forward, pressed the advantage. All ships, advance on the harvesters. It's time to show the Kreznar that humanity takes genocide very seriously. The human fleet surged forward, weapons blazing, toward the heart of the Kreznar formation. The battle for Vulcan space shocked all who witnessed it. Across the galaxy, members of the Galactic Council gathered around screens and holographic displays, unable to believe what they were seeing. Humans, the newcomers to galactic society, the strange beings from a planet classified as a death world, were systematically destroying a Kreznar battle fleet that had conquered a dozen systems. Lieutenant Commander Taeyang Kim stood in the Thunderchild's launch bay, checking his combat armor one final time. Around him, 30 Marines did the same, their movements quick and precise. Each soldier wore powered armor that added to their already impressive strength and protected them from vacuum and enemy fire. Remember, Kim said, his voice calm as he addressed his team, the Kreznar evolved in a low-gravity environment. Their natural strength is about 1/3 of a human's. Their exoskeletons are tough but brittle under pressure. Hit them hard and fast. The soldiers nodded. They had trained for this. Boarding actions were dangerous, but humans excelled at close-quarters combat. Commander Park has disabled their main engines, Kim continued. Our goal is to capture their command center intact. We need their navigational data to find their home system. The ship's AI announced, boarding craft ready for launch. Target vessel shields down. Hull breach created on Deck 7. Kim pulled on his helmet, the faceplate lighting up with tactical data. Let's show them what Deathworlders can do. The boarding craft launched from the Thunderchild, crossing the space between ships in seconds. It slammed into the already damaged section of the Kreznar vessel, cutting through the weakened hull with focused breaching charges. As atmosphere vented explosively into space, the human soldiers pushed forward. Inside the Kreznar ship, alarms blared. The air was thin by human standards but breathable. Emergency lights cast red shadows across alien corridors. Kim led from the front, his rifle raised, scanning for targets. They found resistance at the first junction. 6 Kreznar soldiers, their exoskeletons enhanced with battle armor, opened fire with plasma weapons. The shots splashed against the corridor walls, leaving scorch marks in the metal. Kim didn't hesitate. Flash and clear. A Marine tossed a stun grenade. The humans closed their eyes as the device detonated, filling the corridor with blinding light and sound. The Kreznar, their compound eyes more sensitive than human ones, reeled in pain. The humans surged forward. Kim fired 3 precise shots, taking down the lead Kreznar. Around him, his soldiers engaged the others at close range. What happened next demonstrated why humans were feared across the galaxy. A Kreznar soldier swung a powerful limb at Private Junho Han. The blow would have shattered the bones of most species. Han caught the limb with one armored hand, the servos in his suit whining as they amplified his already considerable strength. With a quick twist, he broke the alien's arm and drove it to the floor. Nearby, Sergeant Mina Kwan faced 2 Kreznar at once. She moved with speed that seemed impossible in combat armor, ducking under their attacks and striking back with devastating efficiency. Her combat knife found gaps in their exoskeletons, and both aliens fell within seconds. Kim checked his tactical display. 15 decks to the command center. Move out. As the boarding team fought their way upward through the ship, another battle was taking place in the digital realm. Aboard the Thunderchild, Lieutenant Yuna Choi led a team of cyber warfare specialists. Their target, the Kreznar Battle Network. Their security is good, Choi muttered as her fingers flew across the interface. But they never expected someone to attack this way. Like their weapons technology, human cyber warfare had evolved differently from Galactic Council standards. Where most species built perfect but rigid defenses, humans created adaptive, virus-like programs that could change tactics on the fly. "I'm in," Choi announced after 20 minutes of intense work. "I have access to their command protocols." Commander Park nodded. "Disable their weapons systems. Then lock down all compartments except the route to the bridge. I want to funnel the Kreznar defenders into Kim's path." On the Kreznar ship, Kim's team noticed the change immediately. Doors that should have been secured slid open before them. Enemy soldiers became trapped behind suddenly locked bulkheads. "They've compromised the ship's systems," Kim told his team. "Push forward." The remaining resistance was fierce but futile. The Kreznar fought bravely, but they were not prepared for the sheer physical power of humans. Evolved on a planet with higher gravity and more dangerous predators, humans moved faster, hit harder, and endured more punishment than the Kreznar could withstand. In one memorable encounter, a Kreznar commander in heavy battle armor charged Corporal Geo Park. The alien was nearly 8 feet tall, its armor bristling with weapons. Park, who stood just over 5.5 feet, didn't back down. As the Kreznar swung a massive power claw at her head, she ducked inside its reach and drove her powered fist upward with all her strength. The blow lifted the alien commander off its feet and sent it crashing into the ceiling. 17 minutes after breaching the hull, Kim's team reached the bridge. The final defense was the most desperate. 12 elite Kreznar guards protected Supreme Commander Zorthal, who stood at the center of the command platform. "Surrender," Kim called out, his translator converting his words to Kreznar language. "Your fleet is defeated. Your systems are compromised. There's no need for more bloodshed." Zorthal's response needed no translation. The Supreme Commander raised a plasma pistol and fired directly at Kim. The shot would have killed most beings, but Kim's armor absorbed much of the energy, and his naturally denser bones and muscles, evolved on Earth's higher gravity, allowed him to remain standing despite the impact. "Take them," Kim ordered. The Marine team moved with terrifying coordination. Stun grenades disabled the Krezner's sensitive vision, while precisely aimed shots took down their guards. 3 Marines tackled Zorthal, the Supreme Commander's strength meaningless against their combined power. In 17 minutes from breach to capture, the humans had taken control of a Kreznar command ship. "Bridge secured," Kim reported through his comlink. "Supreme Commander Zorthal is in custody. Minimal casualties on our side." On the Thunderchild, Commander Park allowed herself a small smile. "Well done, Lieutenant Commander. Secure all prisoners and prepare for extraction. The cyber team will download their navigational data." Across the battle zone, the remaining Kreznar ships faltered as their command network collapsed. Their coordinated defense fell apart, making them easy targets for the human fleet. On the surface of Vulcan, the native population watched the battle with a mixture of fear and hope. They had believed themselves doomed when the Kreznar arrived. No species had ever successfully resisted the collective. Yet here were these humans, these strange, powerful beings from a world so dangerous it was classified as a death world, fighting and winning on their behalf. A Vulcan elder named Tychel, watching from the planet's largest remaining observatory, turned to his colleagues. "They move like predators," he said quietly, "yet they fight to protect us." Another elder nodded. "The Galactic Council told us to fear the humans if they ever left their world. They said humans were too violent, too aggressive to join galactic society." Tychel's forearms gestures in a pattern expressing profound gratitude. "Today, I thank the stars for human violence." Above them, the battle continued to turn in humanity's favor. The human ships moved with aggressive precision, their tactics unlike anything the Kreznar had encountered before. where galactic council races fought with careful, measured responses, humans attacked relentlessly, pressing every advantage. By the time the last Kreznar harvester fell to the combined fire of 3 human destroyers, the message had already spread across galactic communication channels. Humanity had defeated the undefeatable. The Deathworlders had shown the galaxy what they could do. And they had done it to save a species that wasn't their own. The celebration aboard the Thunderchild was short-lived. Commander Ju Park stood in the command center, studying the tactical display with growing concern. The captured Kreznar communications array had intercepted a troubling message. They've called for reinforcements, she told her officers. And not just any reinforcements. First Officer Sun Wukang frowned at the data. The Third Armada, 15 capital ships, 30 destroyers, and over 100 support vessels. A heavy silence fell over the command center. The human fleet, just 5 ships, had barely defeated the initial Kreznar force. Against the Third Armada, their chances seemed impossibly slim. We should request backup from Earth Command, suggested Tactical Officer Gunjin Choi. If we can hold out for 10 days, the Second Fleet could reach us. Park shook her head. The Armada will be here in 6 hours. The Vulcans don't have 10 days. She walked slowly around the tactical display, studying it from all angles. Besides, we've hurt the Kreznar's pride. They won't wait to attack. Then we should withdraw, said Kang. Save our ships to fight another day. And abandon the Vulcans. Park's voice was quiet but firm. They would be dead before our engines cooled. She looked around at her officers. No, we stand and fight. Medical Officer Do Yun spoke up. Commander, with respect, that's suicide. The Third Armada is commanded by War Admiral Kreznath himself. He's conquered 12 systems. Our 5 ships can't possibly. Not in a conventional battle. No, Park interrupted. But we're not going to fight conventionally. She tapped the display, highlighting the current position of the Vulcan defense satellites. The Vulcans built these for scientific research, but we can repurpose them. Lieutenant Commander Kim, how are our captured Kreznar prisoners responding to interrogation? Kim straightened. Their Supreme Commander remains defiant, but several junior officers are cooperating. They fear Kreznath more than they fear us. Good. Get everything they know about Third Armada tactics, especially Kreznath's personal strategies. Park's eyes gleamed with a plan forming. And prepare our crews for the Thermopylae Protocol. A murmur ran through the command center. The Thermopylae Protocol was rarely used outside of training, a high-risk maneuver that required ships to accelerate at forces that pushed the limits of human endurance. Commander, Kang said carefully, many of our people will be injured by those G-forces. Better injured than dead, Park replied. And better us injured than billions of Vulcans massacred. She looked each officer in the eye. I won't order anyone to stay who wants to leave. Any ship that wishes to withdraw may do so without dishonor. Not a single officer moved. Park nodded, pride evident in her expression. Then let's prepare a welcome for War Admiral Kreznath. The next 5 hours were a frenzy of activity. The human ships dispersed to strategic positions around Vulcan. The captured Kreznar vessel was rigged with explosives and positioned as a trap. Every fighter pilot and gunner ran combat simulations based on the intelligence gathered from the Kreznar prisoners. On the medical frigate Nightingale, doctors prepared for mass casualties. In the engine rooms of all 5 human vessels, engineers pushed their systems to the absolute limit, knowing that the coming maneuver would strain both ships and crews to breaking point. Exactly 6 hours after the distress call was sent, the Kreznar Third Armada arrived. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel as a single unit, a wall of warships that seemed to fill the view screen of the Thunderchild. By the stars, whispered Navigator Minho Lee. There are so many of them. Park stood calmly at the center of her bridge. Open a channel to our fleet. All ships, maintain position. Hold fire until my command. Then, with remarkable composure, she added, now open a channel to the Kreznar flagship. The main screen flickered, and a massive Kreznar appeared. Unlike the others they had faced, this one's exoskeleton was bright red, marked with gold symbols denoting countless victories. 6 eyes fixed on Park with cold hatred. I am War Admiral Kresnath of the Kresnar Collective, the alien announced. You have interfered with collective operations and destroyed valuable Kresnar property. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Park met the alien's gaze without flinching. This is Commander Ju Park of the United Earth Fleet. The Vulcans are under our protection. Withdraw your forces or face destruction. For a moment, the War Admiral was silent, perhaps surprised by the human's audacity. Then he made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. You've made an error, Deathworlders, Kresnath transmitted. Your fleet will be obliterated, and your homeworld will follow. We will study your kind as we strip your world of resources. Your young will feed our larvae. Park didn't respond to the threat. All ships, she said calmly over the fleet channel. Execute Thermopylae protocol on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Across the human fleet, gravity compensation systems were dialed down to minimal levels. Inertial dampeners were recalibrated to allow for maximum acceleration. Crew members strapped themselves into acceleration couches, injecting combat stimulants to help them remain conscious during what would come next. Then the human ships moved. To say they accelerated would be an understatement. They exploded forward, their engines pushing them to speeds that generated forces that would kill most species instantly. Even with their evolutionary advantages, many human crew members blacked out. Others suffered broken bones as their bodies were crushed against their restraints. But the ships moved faster than anything the Kresnar had ever encountered, faster than their targeting systems could track, faster than their commanders could react. The human vessels shot through gaps in the Kresnar formation like bullets, their kinetic weapons firing as they passed. By the time the Kresnar realized what was happening, the human ships were behind them, inside their defensive perimeter, attacking their most vulnerable points. On the bridge of the Thunderchild, Park fought to remain conscious as blood leaked from her nose and ears. The ship's artificial gravity couldn't fully compensate for the maneuver, and her body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Around her, several crew members had passed out, but the ship's automated systems continued to function. Target, their flagship, she managed to say through gritted teeth. All weapons, fire. The Thunderchild's main railgun fired, sending a tungsten rod through the engine section of Kresnath's command vessel. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull as the human ship continued its impossible maneuver, circling inside the Kresnar formation. The Kresnar ships tried to respond, but their weapons were positioned to fire outward, not inward. They began to turn, trying to bring their guns to bear on the human vessels that now flew among them like wolves among sheep. Some Kresnar captains panicked, firing blindly. Their shots hit other Kresnar ships instead of their targets. Confusion spread through the Third Armada as its carefully planned formation disintegrated into chaos. "They're breaking formation," reported Tactical Officer Choi, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. "Their coordination is failing." Park nodded, wiping blood from her own face. "All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Target their command vessels." The human ships regrouped, their engines still pushing them at speeds that strained hulls and crew alike. They concentrated their fire on the Kresnar command ships, which housed the central intelligence that coordinated the Armada's movements. On his flagship, War Admiral Kresnath watched in disbelief as his perfect formation collapsed. These humans, these primitives from a backwater world, had done what no species had ever done before. They had turned his own Armada's size against it. Impossible, he chittered to his officers. How can they withstand such acceleration? Their bodies should be crushed. A junior officer responded. They evolved on a high-gravity world, War Admiral. Their bodies are denser, their reflexes faster. They're Deathworlders. For the first time in his long career of conquest, Kresnath felt fear. Not for his ships or his mission, but for the future of the collective itself. If humans could do this with just 5 ships, what could they do with 100? 1,000? On the Thunderchild, Park watched as the tide turned. 3 Kresnar command ships were already destroyed. The rest of the Armada was firing randomly, as likely to hit their own vessels as the humans. It was working better than she had dared hope. "Send the signal to the Vulcan defense satellites," she ordered. Execute final phase. Across the battlefield, the repurposed Vulcan satellites activated, their scientific instruments now converted to weapons. They couldn't match Kreznar firepower, but they didn't need to. They targeted the already damaged sections of Kreznar ships, finishing what the human attack had started. The battle that should have been over in minutes, with the human fleet destroyed, had become a turning point in galactic history. The unstoppable Third Armada, pride of the Kreznar Collective, was falling apart before the eyes of its legendary commander. And across the galaxy, observers watched in stunned silence as humanity announced its arrival on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. War Admiral Kreznath stood in the brig of the Thunderchild, his once proud exoskeleton now cracked and dull. Six eyes stared with hatred at Commander Juu Park as she entered the holding cell. "You should have killed me," the Kreznar leader said. Park studied him calmly. "That's not how humans do things." "Then you are weak." Kreznath clicked his mandibles in what might have been contempt. "The strong consume the weak. That is the way of the universe." "Is it?" Park asked. "Your strong armada just retreated from 5 human ships." The truth of this statement seemed to pain the War Admiral physically. His mighty Third Armada, 15 capital ships, 30 destroyers, and over 100 support vessels, had broken and flowed from a handful of human warships. "What will you do with me?" he asked finally. "You'll stand trial before the Galactic Council for genocide," Park replied. "The evidence will be your own ship's recordings of the attacks on Vulcan cities." The alien leader hissed. "The Council has no authority over the Collective." "It does now," Park said simply. She turned to leave, then paused. "You know, we could have destroyed your entire armada. We chose not to." "Why?" Kreznath seemed genuinely confused. "Because the strong protecting the weak. That's the true way of the universe." With that, Park left the War Admiral to consider his new reality. On the bridge, First Officer Sun Wukang had news. "Earth Command has responded to our situation report. They're sending 3 battle groups. They'll be here in 6 days." Park nodded. "And the Vulcans? Their global council wishes to speak with you immediately." An hour later, Park stood in the Thunderchild's conference room as a holographic projection of the Vulcan High Council appeared. The aliens were tall and slender, with 4 arms and iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions. Currently, they all glowed with a deep blue that the ship's computer identified as profound gratitude. "Commander Park," said Elder Tycho, the head of the council, "words cannot express what your people have done for ours. For generations, we believed peaceful cooperation was the only path forward for advanced species. The Kreznar taught us the flaw in that thinking. And what have humans taught you?" Park asked gently. "That strength without compassion is merely brutality," Tickle replied, his skin shifting to a thoughtful green. "And that sometimes protection requires the ability to fight." The Elder's 4 hands moved in a formal gesture as he continued. "The Vulcan High Council has voted unanimously. We wish to formalize an alliance with humanity. We request protection status under your government." Park tried to hide her surprise. No species had ever voluntarily aligned themselves with humans before. Most of the galaxy viewed Earth as a curiosity at best, a potential threat at worst. "I cannot speak for my government," she said carefully, "but I will transmit your request to Earth immediately. I believe it will be received favorably." "There is more," Tycho continued. "We have begun adapting our medical technology to human physiology. The injuries your people sustained in our defense, we can heal them." Park thought of her crew. Dozens had suffered broken bones and internal injuries during the Thermopylae Protocol. Vulcan medical technology, renowned throughout the galaxy, would save many lives. "We accept with gratitude," she replied. Over the next 3 days, as Earth aid ships arrived with supplies for the devastated Vulcan cities, a remarkable thing happened. The Vulcans and humans began working together. Vulcan doctors treated human injuries. Human engineers helped repair Vulcan infrastructure. 2 species that had never met before the Kreznar attack found common purpose in rebuilding. Park recorded all of it. Every moment of cooperation, every act of kindness between species. She also compiled the evidence of Kreznar atrocities, the bombed cities, the harvested atmosphere, the countless civilian deaths. On the fourth day, she called her officers together. The Galactic Council has requested our presence at an emergency session, she told them. They want an explanation for our unauthorized intervention in Kreznar activities. Tactical Officer Hyunjin Choi scoffed. They did nothing while the Kreznar destroyed 12 other worlds. Now they care because we stopped them. Politics, said Lieutenant Commander Taehyun Kim with a shrug. They fear us more than they fear the Kreznar. Then we'll give them something real to think about, Park said. She showed them the message she had prepared, a simple, direct statement accompanied by footage of both the atrocities and the aftermath. 2 days later, Park stood before the Galactic Council itself. Representatives of 37 spacefaring species sat in a vast chamber, their various physiologies accommodated by specialized environmental areas. At the center stood Park, a solitary human in a crisp uniform. The council chairperson, a dravid with translucent skin that revealed multiple brains pulsing within, spoke first. Commander Ju Park, you are called to explain humanity's unprovoked attack on Kreznar forces engaged in legal resource extraction. A murmur ran through the chamber. Park's expression didn't change. Legal, she repeated. I was unaware that genocide had been legalized by this council. The Kreznar Collective filed proper resource claims to the Vulcan system, said the chairperson. The native population was notified of extraction plans. Notification is not consent, Park replied. She gestured, and behind her, the chamber's main screen activated. Before I respond further, I would like to share something with the council. The screen showed Vulcan cities in flames. Kreznar ships methodically destroying residential areas, civilians running from harvester beams that dissolved everything they touched. The chamber grew silent as the footage continued, 17 minutes of unrelenting horror. Then the images changed. Humans treating Vulcan wounded, Earth supply ships delivering food and medicine, Vulcan and human children playing together in a rebuilt park. Finally, the screen showed War Admiral Kresnath in his cell, admitting to the deliberate targeting of civilian areas to encourage faster evacuation. When the presentation ended, Park faced the council again. Humanity has evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. We survived predators, diseases, natural disasters, and our own self-destructive tendencies. We fought ourselves for millennia before reaching the stars. She paused, looking directly at each council member. But now that we're here, know this. We will not stand by while innocents are slaughtered. Not by the Kreznar. Not by anyone. The silence that followed was profound. Finally, the Dravid chairperson spoke. The council will re-examine the Kreznar resource claims in light of this new evidence. Good, Park said. Humanity also has a proposal for the council. We suggest the creation of a rapid response force. Ships from all member species ready to intervene in cases of genocide or planetary destruction. No species should have to send desperate messages into the void, hoping someone will care enough to help. As Park left the council chamber, news of the confrontation was already spreading across galactic networks. The defeat of the Third Armada, the alliance between humans and Vulcans, the public challenging of the council, all became the subject of intense discussion on thousands of worlds. On Earth, the impact was immediate. Recruitment centers for the United Earth Fleet reported lines stretching for blocks as young people volunteered by the thousands. Earth's government formally accepted the Vulcan petition for protected status, establishing the first voluntary alliance between humans and another species. In her cabin aboard the Thunderchild, Commander Park read the latest updates from Earth Command with satisfaction. Humanity had been searching for its place in the galaxy since achieving faster-than-light travel. They had been viewed with suspicion, fear, or condescension by older species. Now they had found their purpose. Not conquest, not domination, protection. Park looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. The galaxy was vast and often cruel. But from now on, the weak and peaceful would have champions, Deathworlders who used their strength not to consume, but to defend. The Kreznar had made a fatal error. They had assumed that because humans evolved on a world of predators and danger, They would understand and respect the philosophy that the strong should devour the weak. They had failed to understand the true lesson of Earth, that the strongest societies were those where the powerful protected the vulnerable. As the Thunderchild prepared to return home, the message from Vulcan space continued to echo across the stars, carried by news networks, diplomatic channels, and merchant ships to every corner of the galaxy. Humanity had arrived, and the rules had changed.